DTN's Todd Hultman is our market analyst this week. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's latest crop progress report was issued on Monday. Nationally, corn planting progress has reached 17%, which is behind the 27% five-year average. Soybean progress is in line with the five-year average at 5% planted. Nearby corn futures have reached $4 as production is predicted to be lower than demand under traditional yield and usage conditions. Soybean traders appear to be watching a high-stakes meeting between the U.S. and China regarding trade. We spoke with Todd Wednesday afternoon about these topics, but began by asking him about the crop progress report.
Yeah, Bryce. Well, we've had a slow start to the planting season this year. We had a winter storm come through just a couple weeks ago. So we've had delayed planting for corn. That caught a lot of the attention in the crop progress report. USDA is now saying 17% of U.S. corn has been implanted, and they did note a little progress in Illinois and Missouri. Iowa came in about 17% on the national average there. Soybeans are just getting started. They're 5% planted. That's no surprise, mostly in the South. And of course, they're waiting for corn to get done in the Midwest, which may be a little longer this year than usual. And then finally, we had some wheat numbers. The crop conditions for winter wheat continue to be very poor, only 33% good to excellent rating on the national crop. Roughly half of the Kansas wheat crop rated poor or very poor.
Are traders paying attention to those numbers right now, or at what point do they start getting concerned?
Well, you always have to take those numbers with a grain of salt. It's a very rough observation. It doesn't always translate specifically to what's happening in the time. And actually right now we're looking much more at forecasts when it comes to planting expectations, and the forecasts are looking much better for row crops right now. It looks like we're going to have warmer and drier conditions, and that'll be very helpful in getting those soil temperatures warmer and getting a lot of that field work done.
On those row crops, we've seen some pretty good prices lately. Let's break down a few of those, beginning with corn.
Yeah, it's a big surprise when you go back to last harvest, and it was bigger than everyone expected, and we were coming in around 2.5 billion bushels of ending stocks we were talking about. Well, since that time, our cash corn price on a national average has risen about 70 cents a bushel. We're now at our highest price in 22 months on that national cash average. So it's been nice appreciation. A lot of it got a big boost from the drought in Argentina early this year. And it's just been a very nice seasonal influence that we normally see in this off time of year.
On the soybean side, there's been a lot of outside pressure as talk of tariffs with China have been going on, but those markets are still performing well.
Yes, soybeans are just on the edge of you don't know if it could be trouble or there's actually a bullish scenario for soybeans too. To put this in perspective, let me point out that the soybean markets outside of the U.S. are looking very bullish at this time. The Argentina drought cut their supplies drastically this year, and it put Brazil in a situation of being basically the primary supplier to China, while China is doing all they can to avoid buying U.S. soybeans. So even though Brazil is just coming off of a record harvest right now, their FOB soybean prices are very high compared to where they typically are. So we have a very tight situation for soybean supplies outside of the U.S. In the U.S., it's been a different story. We've struggled to find demand without China being an eager buyer for our markets, and our soybean shipments are down about 13% from a year ago. These trade talks, which start on Thursday, are going to be very important in trying to figure out where this market is headed.
You mentioned that big meeting happening in China. Tell us more about what the conversation will be at that meeting and how traders will be closely following that.
Boy, wouldn't we all like to know that. I think the guesses are wide open right now. It's hard to assume anything from the team that President Trump has assembled for this because he's got some people such as Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, who seems very hopefully optimistic that we can strike a deal with China and maybe avoid some of these tariffs that we've been talking about. On the other hand, you've got some more hostile China advisors in there, Peter Navarro in particular, who may be very tough for China to make a deal with. So right now, I think it's very difficult to predict how this meeting's going to go.
How high can they go? They're on kind of a continuum here with the corn and the soybean specifically.
Yeah, rather than shooting for a price target, which I don't know, and especially in the case of soybeans where we have this trade issue, which could go either way, it's very tough to call a price. But I will say seasonally, we need to be careful. So the 10-year seasonal high for corn is roughly early June. We're just a month away from that. This could be a prime time, especially with prices as high as they are, to find that seasonal high somewhere shortly here. And on soybeans, early July is typically their seasonal high. So those are more the targets that I have in mind.